Okay, that video before this was pretty crazy. I'm using LumaFusion for napping. Obviously, I don't know how to use it. It was my first clip. Then I went into a couple chopped up pictures, and then it started from the ending and went to the beginning. I don't know how that happened. So just ignore all that. I stopped at Damascus yesterday after hiking 2 15-mile days in a town, and largely Damascus is shut down, man. That's a well-known hiker town. The Damascus diner is open, Subway's open. You know, the gas stations are open. There is one outfitter open that has everything you need for hiking, actually. One really cool guy. Pretty big store. And then the accommodations, there's this place called the Dragonfly Inn. They wanted to charge $80 a night with no laundry. So I went into town, I found a place called the Broken Fiddle Hostel, and it was super cool. I mean, the owners were cool, the staff that was running, it was awesome. There were 4 other hikers there. It had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 bunks and 2 private rooms that I saw. I think they have to limit it to 10 hikers, so you'll never see it crowded right now. And it was $30 a night, and they did your laundry for you, and they had a great shower and a clean toilet. So that was a great find. So anybody hiking into Damascus, check out the Broken Fiddle. You'll like it. Okay, so I will see you down the trail when there's something more interesting to look at than me. Hey, one more note for any hiker. You absolutely can get resupplied in Damascus. No problem at all. You'll find whatever you want. If you go to that Outfitters, they even have some Mountain House meals there. So no problem on resupply. Out of all these rhododendrons I've walked past for the past, month and a half, they all basically look like this, sea of green, but now this is the first time I've seen blooms on them. So that's what they look like. Here's a couple that are just coming out. Really pretty. So in case you're wondering through those rhododendron tunnels what they look like, there you go. It's going from Damascus to the Grayson Highlands. This is part of the trail right after that bridge. Is just a lot easier to film when it's completely flat like this for obvious reasons, because otherwise you're completely looking at your feet. Tomorrow is supposed to be raining with an inch of snow at the end of the day and below freezing temperatures. So, of course, I left all my really cold weather gear back in Florida. So, I think I have enough to make do. So, we'll see. This is the Saunders shelters on the way up to the Grayson Highlands where the ponies are. It's a nice shelter. I was talking to this guy. He was trail running. Lives, I don't know, a few miles from here, and he said that his club just got done staining this last year. So, really nice sleeping area. Pretty clean. It's a well-kept shelter. Could probably sleep at least 6 or 8 people. And then there's a nice tent area on the side of it. But what a great looking shelter. I might have to zero here tomorrow because it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be snowing. Oh, eating the good old ramen and spicy tuna packets for dinner. There's my gear. And of course, here is a fire. I just climbed a big ass hill and crossed this barbed wire fence with like this horse control thing on it or whatever. You gotta go back and forth. As soon as I picked my head up, it went from woods to all this open. Pretty cool. Ooh, 3 hours straight up. And I guess this is the top of Graceland Highlands. Nice views. Oh, I'm worn out. Still have to go up there. Look who showed up at the shelter. Now you got mom and her little baby pony, a pony. So I wound up staying at the top of Lost Mountain Shelter. Freezing cold. I was in the 20s last night. With 2 other people, we all froze. And now I get to hike in this. It's still better than being in the news cycle. This is basically what my morning looks like. Saturday morning, 7 o'clock, starting out my hike. So it's just this big frozen, snow-covered landscape. Kind of pretty, but really cold. I've certainly done time lapses before, but this is how fast these clouds are moving through here this morning. It's about 7:30, sun's trying to come out. Really pretty. Everything is snow covered. I did not expect this. I knew it was going to be colder at these higher elevations, but I did not expect 25 degrees at night and everything to be snow covered in the morning. So still beautiful, grateful to be out here. And I gotta keep going or I'm gonna freeze to death. Still Saturday. I'm gonna try to film this without killing myself, but this is what the trail looks like today. I don't want to leave my gloves off for too long because my hands will freeze. The wind is blowing still about probably 25 knots, so. But I mean, we're at May 10th. There should not be any of this craziness. It is pretty. This is especially for all my Floridian friends and neighbors. In case you're Feeling a little put out because the pool's not open. Still warmer than this. It's pretty, grateful, pretty, grateful, pretty, grateful, pretty. The wind is probably blowing 40 miles an hour. I just saw some bear prints through the snow. This will show up how fast these clouds are whipping through over this pass. I mean, it seems like the weather changes every second. Pretty cool, very cold. Same thing happened on this side, where these clouds are just rolling past. This is called the Fat Man Squeeze. Let's see if I can squeeze through here. Almost missed this because everything's snow covered. And oh, everything is snow covered. Oh, and you can't see the blazes. Everything looks white. I'm glad I didn't miss that. That would have been bad. Couple more ponies. Just sort of in a field. This little guy. They're pretty friendly. Good morning. I wanted to share a story with you guys. I started this morning at 5 a.m. and when I stopped in Damascus a couple days ago, I did a 0. So I hiked 15 miles in, spent the night at the Broken Fiddle Hostel for $30. Was able to take a shower, use a regular toilet, sleep in a bunk, and get some more food for the next day. So I got there and this lady, this short lady flops in, and she's got like sort of a crazy hat and black tights and some crazy shorts, and she's got this weird looking backpack on, no trekking poles. And she got a private room there, I think, for $70. The bunks were $30. And she was having conversations with the other hikers there and sort of going back and forth. She was section hiking. So what was sort of endearing is that she said that the person who inspired her to hike was her son, who's got, either he's on the spectrum, either he has autism or he's got Down syndrome, something like that. But she said that they went hiking together, and that he actually sort of inspired her to hike more sections of the Appalachian Trail, and tried to get him to go on this hike. She begged and begged and begged, and And she said, I'll go real slow to try to get him to go. So I thought that was kind of sweet. But at the end of the day, sort of look at what this lady was wearing. No trekking poles, crazy backpack. I just thought, okay, so this is a crazy lady that probably lives in Damascus, and she puts this hodgepodge hiker gear collection together and talks to hikers and spends the night at the hostel. I don't know. Maybe she was bored. Maybe she's a little crazy. But anyway, so I saw her going down the road the next morning as I started out. So it didn't think of much about it. I thought, oh, she's probably just going home. So I hike 10 miles the next day, stay in the shelter, get up at 4 o'clock the next morning. I'm on trail, hike 6.6 miles, around the corner of the next shelter, and who is it? It's this lady with this homemade backpack. So she hiked 16 miles out of Damascus the next day with a 10 o'clock start. We were both waiting for the outfitters to open. So, I mean, so all of a sudden she gets instant respect from me because now this crazy lady is actually just out hiked me. So we both wound up the next day at Thomas Knob Shelter. I think it's the shelter that's way up on an exposed bluff in the highlands where the ponies are, and it was at above 5,000 feet. It was probably about 30 degrees by the time I hit that shelter. The wind was blowing 40 miles an hour. It was raining and snowing. Getting water was like a death march. So I go upstairs and I get all my stuff spread out. Then a southbound hiker, this guy joined. He came up, and then about an hour later, here's this lady again. And she's like, do you mind if I go upstairs because it's just too windy down here? We're like, yeah, of course. So we spent the night there. The wind was howling and it was just pouring rain. It was probably the worst day on the Appalachian Trail for me. I'm sure for those guys too. So the next morning we all I got to frozen shoes. They were frozen like an ice cube. So I put on 2 pair of frozen socks and my frozen shoes. I had to sort of bend them to get them on, and was out the door. They were still in their sleeping bags. I hiked, I think, 12 hard miles, and then I skipped the shelter and I just found this little spot in the woods off the trail a little bit. Just made my own camping spot. Had dinner, had all, I was already in my sleeping bag, and all of a sudden I hear 5 a.m. And I'm like, no way. I was like, how you doing? And she said, I have your soles. And I said, you can't have my soles. I said, you can't have my poles because my poles are holding my tent up. She said, no, your soles. She said, you left your insoles back at the shelter in the highlands. So this lady grabbed my insoles, it's like critical piece of equipment. My feet were so frozen I didn't notice. I didn't put them back in my shoes. Hiked all day. She actually put my insoles in her pack and and hiked until she found me and gave me my insoles. So first, if you're watching this, I give you my YouTube channel. Thank you so much again. You don't know what that means to me. And second of all, a personal lesson for me is never judge people, because they're not always what they seem like on the cover. This is Partnership Shelter. This is the last shelter before. This is a shelter you can actually call from the visitor center, which I'm gonna go check out in a minute. And order pizza. Excuse me. Looks like a nice shelter. It's nice and clean. Million billboards in the back. There's the log, bunch of bear hanging things. picnic table. There's a little place to have a fire. That's pretty nice. Nicest shelter I've seen, maybe. And then, hello. There's a little bit of abandoned gear there. And this is, oh, looks like somebody might even be living here. Okay. This is the shower. Oh, it doesn't look like there's a handle on it. Okay. So, that's what you get when, I guess, a shelter is that close to a populated area, perhaps. So I'm gonna go see if there's allegedly a free phone on the side of the station, see if I can get into town. Sayonara.